and welcome to Shut Up and Shimmy. My name is Kat. I'm your host for now and forever. Today we have a very new guest for our fifth podcast this month. I missed last week, so I'm all thrown off with everything.
Yeah.
Because I was really, really sick.
Welcome to July.
Welcome to July. I had 103-degree fever. I was like looking around. I didn't do so well. Yeah, for the fifth podcast, we have Suzanna here. She's a great promoter in the area, dancing for a long time, theater work, all this kind of extra stuff that you don't really get to see too often. And it's nice to have her here. Please welcome Suzanna.
Thank you. Very, very happy that you came.
Yeah, I like taking the drive up. I don't mind. A little time away from the boys never hurts anybody. You know.
Nice.
So, right on. Well, just to start off, I kind of want to hear where you started, where your dance spark started. That's always my first question for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going back.
We are really going back.
Yeah, and take your time.
Okay. Well, dance spark or belly dance spark?
You can go back to dance spark because I know you have more of a career with other dances as well too.
Yeah. You know, the response to that one is a little more urbane. It's like, you know, I'm one of the many little kids that had the opportunity, I would say, because many don't, to attend ballet classes and tap and jazz and all these fun things. My dad's child support provided for that, so I'm super grateful. It's like, thank you, all dads. You know, that child support can make a huge difference, and it made a huge difference for me. So I was able to attend classes, and I just pushed my parents from that point forward all through my teenhood, and you know, I want to go to this class and I want to go to that class. It's located here. It costs this much. I need money. And then I would just
force them.
Yeah, and I just discovered that there was never enough dance in the world for me. You know?
I've done 10 hours today, but I feel like I just haven't hit all of it yet.
But then of course I realized, I have to eat and make money, somehow survive. And so then, you know, I branched off into other things and discovered that I actually really also love other things too.
Oh yeah.
Like dance, yeah. So then I got, you know, a couple of degrees and things that are practical. But dance has just been this thing that is a really strong kind of part of who I am. So, and probably the biggest part. And I was in theater school, getting toward the end of my degree program, and I auditioned for a role for a play I had read and loved, in which the character was a belly dancer.
What play was this?
It's called Chivalry.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard of this, yeah.
Yeah, and so I said to the director, well, I have danced many kinds, though not this one, but I assure you, Miss Director, that I will go find some private coaching to get me where I need to be in order to perform this role, but I would really, really love to have
I promise I'll do great. Yeah.
Oh my god, I wanted that role so bad. And I got it. And I was just like over the top, just like happy. And I found a private instructor. Her name's Zarohi. And we are still connected today.
That's good. Is she located here, or where was this?
She's in Portland.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got super lucky. Actually, somebody referred me to her that had some insight, and she said, this is a good one. So maybe it wasn't just luck. Because she gave me kind of like the full spectrum of like, here is kind of, you know, as fast as I can possibly give it to you, the world of Middle Eastern dance, and
speed lessons.
Not necessarily just, you know, American cabaret or Oriental dance, or, you know, it's just kind of like, by the way, you know, here's Falliji, and here's Czar. I had a part in the script where I actually needed to ask her about what is Czar, and she was like, ooh, well, okay. You know.
Let me get into it. She's like pulling out her little glasses, ready to go.
Yeah, she showed me a bunch of videos.
That's incredible. Okay.
It was actually a whole lot of research, like an actor would do research.
Right.
And maybe only, you know, 25% actually dancing. But I did a lot of my own just kind of like practicing at that point. Well, and in the practice, of course, I discovered, oh my God, where has this dance been all my life? Like,
bitten by the bug, the glitter bug.
I just, you know, was like, this way more fits my body, and etc. Blah blah blah. And you know, that's how I felt at that time, you know, and now I feel very comfortable with all kinds of different styles, but at that time I was like, this is me. And so I just went off in that direction really intensely. I quit a few times because I was traveling a lot, traveling through Africa and actually studying West African dance.
Wow, okay. We're going to have to go back and check in with that.
And then I got married, and then I had a baby, and then I was like, you know, in a really intensive graduate degree program. And so, you know, I mean, you know, we all know. Yeah.
Life happens really quickly. Yeah, especially when kids are involved. But.
Yeah, totally. And then I would say the reignitement happened when I was actually here at the University of Washington getting that master's degree. And I was just yearning and longing to get reconnected with this dance, and I saw something coming up, and it was at the Caspian restaurant, what was formerly and I saw a bunch of dancers. I can't remember many of them, although I'm sure there are many that I'm now, you know, associated with, but at the time everything was new. But Sakura. I was like, wow, she is so awesome, so entertaining, so, you know, so I saw her out, and I would drive all the way down to Kent from North Seattle every week and study with her. And then that was kind of my reignitement. From that point, I just kept studying and started.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So let's go back a little bit. We're gonna retrack back into the past. So you were talking about you were doing, you know, you wanted this role for this play, so badly. And every good actor knows, if you don't know anything about acting, every good actor knows you got to do your research to really represent the role as best it can be. How long was that little program or the study, I guess, that you did with your teacher at the time? Was it like a couple weeks? Was it a couple months that you studied for this? Get prepared for that role?
I think Zarahi and I probably did a total of 4 or 5 private lessons, you know.
Wow, okay.
Well, but of course that, you know, quote unquote 1 hour it ended up being more like she would spend maybe 2.5 hours with me.
Right. She's so interested in what you're doing that she's like trying to pump as much information.
Yeah. And we were spending so much time like talking through video and just basically with just her educating me, not just through, you know, moving, but also through just the full scope. And so it obviously is not much, you know, 4 sessions, but it was sufficient for the role, and sufficient obviously to light a fire in me.
I think we can establish now that it completed the goal, the long-term goal. That little goal. That's so interesting. You know, it's interesting to hear how most people start their journey. 80% of the people I talk to, it's, I went to this one class because I didn't know what to do with my time and I wanted to do a workout, and it just hit me that this is what I wanted to do. Completely different journey for you. Completely different journey. And it's all inspired by something you really love, which was theater, which I'm assuming you're still into theater. Come on. Those theater people never lose it, I would say.
I kind of sort of stepped out of theater. You know, a lot of that would just have to do with practical things, like, you know, you can only do so many things, and there just would be no time in the day for me to be rehearsing for a show, for example, you know, going and pursuing, you know, my headshots and things. There's just no way. But I did make choices, obviously, of like, I am going to spend my time on, you know, Middle Eastern dance, and not spend time anymore on pursuing live theater, stage, regional theater, and, you know, all of the things that are involved. As you know, it takes a huge commitment.
It's time-consuming.
When you take yourself seriously as an actor and you know, take that career seriously, it's, you know, it's all or none. So I chose none.
Because no time. It's so familiar, because I was just a little baby actor at the time, but I was like, I'm gonna commit myself. I have no time. Never mind. Not gonna happen. It's you have to choose at some point, which is sad, but you kind of do.
And I didn't love it enough. Fact is,
well, there you go.
You know, I didn't love it enough, and that's something I realized is like, you know, this is not something that like. When I do it, no matter where I do it and when, I love it so much that I just can't stop. And, you know, I didn't have that feeling. I realized that others around me did love it that much. And so I was like, well, okay.
It's not for me. There's this other thing that I'm just enamored with.
Yeah, I like it, but I don't love it. So, yeah. And I love directing, though.
Ooh, see, yeah.
And so that was, what I got to kind of reconnect with later on in the belly dance community.
Right on. And so after that, you said you went to Africa for a while. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I had this thing. Boy, we're doing a whole lot of talking about life.
I know. Hopefully it's not bringing up anything that's terrible.
It's
by
not.
What it means,
no,
but it's just a lot of...
No. Not at all. It's just like, wow, I didn't know we were going to go here, but that's totally great. I had this longing to understand the world. I had just this really strong feeling that I didn't know anything at all about the reality of the world outside of the U.S., regardless of the many, many books I had to read to get my political science degree.
Okay.
And I think, a lot of that, what I had read through that political science degree did kind of wake me up to that. And it's just like, what am I doing here? I need to travel, and not just to Europe, but I need to go. I just need to go. Well, really what I should have done, economically speaking, is sign up for the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
But I was a little too stubborn, a little too naive, frankly, and I didn't have a good enough mentor, or any, I should actually say, to kind of nudge me in directions that would help me later on. So I was just kind of like going with, my best guess, and I just got myself on a plane and I started in Europe and backpacked my way all through Germany and Spain and France, not in that order, a little bit of Sweden.
Yeah, and a little bit, yeah.
And it was expensive, although it's so much more expensive now, obviously with the euro. At that point we had, the currency of the country. And then I took a boat across the Strait of Gibraltar to Morocco and stayed there for some months, longer than I had planned to. And then from there, flew down to Senegal. And that was kind of like my target of like, I'm going to go to Senegal. And I had made acquaintances in Portland because I'd been studying West African dance locally there for, I guess at that point, maybe 5 years or something. And so there were numerous options of like places I could stay once I got there, and there was a lot for me to navigate and learn in terms of, where I actually should stay and, navigating culture and stuff like that. But, so I was just, doing my own independent research. And, as time went on, I started journaling more and taking my journey more seriously and documenting people I'd met. And I was actually videoing as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you're actually, really just recording your experiences both
I
written
was
and video.
doing all of that. And, like, I now kind of have that, like, envy in my heart when I see a woman produce a great documentary, like the woman that just produced Electro Shabby. For example.
I saw that and I was like, I need to see that. That's on my list.
Yeah. And it's just kind of this like, oh, I shoulda, woulda, because I was documenting and dancing all throughout. Okay. I danced some in Morocco, not as much as I could have. And then when I got to Senegal, I was just dancing just every day for, probably 6 hours each day. Just I would, hire local people and of course go through all kinds of interesting scenarios with that.
I'm sure you have a few interesting stories, and I'm sure there's plenty, but I would like to hear at least just one that comes to the top of your mind.
Oh my gosh, it comes right now.
Okay, perfect.
So it was my stay on Gorée Island, which is the former island that was very well known for the slave trade, the African slave trade. It was the point of departure in which many Africans that lived also in the hinterland and other countries, would be brought in and for hundreds and thousands of miles all the way to the shore of Senegal, or actually it was the island just about 30 minutes off of Senegal. Later got visited and popularized by Bill and Hillary Clinton. At the time that I was there, it wasn't yet very famous, at least, for U.S. media. And first thing is I stayed oh gosh, most of a day with the Rastafarian drummers. And I want to learn dance. Teach me dance. I want to learn dance. That's why I'm here. And then,
pestering everybody in town. Please teach me something.
Like, oh, grasshopper. No, you need to study drumming. We're going to teach you djembe because you have to understand djembe in order for you to understand the dance.
And so, djembe, is that drumming in your language? Okay.
Yeah. And I said, well, I didn't exactly find a hotel room for myself. But that's okay because see how naive I was.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll figure out something.
It's the American tours, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, but it's okay because it's so warm out here and this beach is so beautiful, and so I'm just gonna fall asleep right here, and that's okay. It's great.
Oh my god.
And they're like, no.
That's the worst idea. What are you doing? That sounds exactly like something I'd be saying to my 6-year-old. No, that's not a good idea.
So they brought me, they said, we have a place for you to sleep. So they brought me down, it was dark at that point, and I was walking through like just this massive matrix of a cave and dungeon and corridor, and I was just, I could feel that I was getting deeper and deeper underground, and I was just, it was one of those, there aren't words, I can't even describe this.
Just like going downward into this...
And downward, and then just like, once you're down, just you're walking and walking for quite a ways, so it's like, I'll never get out if I need to.
This is the worst idea. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, so I finally, when they got me where the room they wanted me to stay in, there was, we had a few lighters and a candle, and I asked a couple of the people that I was there with, where are we? What is this? And they said, well, this is where, a holding place where they would keep the slaves.
Oh.
It's just this really extravagant, labyrinth.
Interesting.
And so I spent the night thinking about that was laying and sleeping on this floor that had been laid upon by innumerable humans in what, the things that they must have felt and what had been going through their minds. So I sort of felt like I was feeling this wash of emotions and memories of other souls and other people coming through me, and hearing all these voices inside of me, and it was
that's really powerful.
Something else.
Yeah.
And next morning, I got to kind of see, and I could go.
It was so dark. It was like, I gotta.
Yeah, I was like, here's where I was. There was just a little bit of light, not much because we were so far in. Right. So I had to walk out quite a bit to just sort of see and it was then suddenly
literally walking through a lab with the candle, hoping to get back out.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And I won't go into all the like, oh my god, there's gotta be all these bugs and scorpions all around me, because it was like pitch black, and
well, sure. I mean, of course they're down there. That's where they live. Yeah.
Thank God, nothing like, I didn't get bit by anything, but so Kitiera, to bring all this back to today, was asking us, she's really amazing as a director and connecting us emotionally to her choreography, and she was helping us or asking us to find ways to connect with this hip-hop choreography that is really emotionally driven and very much about struggle during times of civil war.
Oh, okay.
And the feeling that you will go through, the emotions that you'll go through of helplessness and hope and fight and trying to change it and then eventually just and hatred and anger and giving up and just what you would experience.
Yeah, the emotions, the raw emotions
in an oppressive situation, kind of. And she's like, so I want you to find that place where blah 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 blah. And before she even finished her sentence, I said, I got it.
I know exactly where I'm going to be.
I know where I am.
Yeah, because you've literally been there.
Yeah.
If you don't know, Katira is the director of Forge Dance Company. Is that the official name, correct?
Yes, it
Forge
is.
Dance Company.
Yeah.
And you, of course, are a part of it. And I'm so excited to see what you guys are up to. It's belly dance, but it's not. It's so many other things involved. It's so encompassing of all the things that we've just been missing out as a belly dance community, I should say. I'm very excited to see what you guys are going to come up to. I've been watching the videos like, ooh, I got to see a sneak preview. Like,
we all are.
Dorky excited.
And it's pushing us.
Good.
You know, and that's big time, you know, and so that's just this incredibly invigorating thing is they're just like, oh gosh, I'm just growing and I'm feeling sore and, you know, not just physically, but, you know, like it just, you feel that sort of growth. And it's like the idea is to inspire that, you know, with everyone, but also we're experiencing it at the same time, you know.
I think it's just a wonderful idea. It's something that's fresh and new. And I mean, I know you were not necessarily the director of it, and I'm sure we're going to hit on it with Katira next week, which will be fun. But I mean, for your experience, it's if you don't know, it's a group of girls who are essentially coming from a lot of different backgrounds. I mean, a lot of different dance styles as well. Some similar, but not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's kind of this really cool mosaic of dancers. It is. How has your experience been with that? Has it been tough or challenging, or has it just been positive and amazing?
Positive and amazing.
I would hope so, yeah.
I'm just thrilled beyond expression with the women that I'm teamed up with, and like you say, it's not necessarily people I would have found myself.
Right.
And so it's just so wonderful to just kind of be collaborating and in a really super focused way on the creation of this thing, you know, without any sort of attempt to try to, like, you know, figure out personally if we, you know, understand or relate to each other. It doesn't matter.
It's all about the dance.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You know, and eventually, obviously, as relationships form, you know, that stuff may just kind of form itself too, you know.
Sure.
But it's so wonderful to just not have that, you know, whether, you know, you don't have to like the other person, okay? That's the point.
It just doesn't matter,
That's the bottom line. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't have to like. It's neither here nor there. It's just so great to just be, you know, super driven and committed to what we're creating together.
Nothing's better is a group of people who are committed to one goal.
Yeah.
And not just like one person who has a great idea and they have a couple people, but just a group of people who are absolutely committed to it. I'm so excited. I'm like just keeping checking up, like, oh, something new going on. Okay, no new video. I'll have to check back later, and just watching to see what you guys come up with. So I'm very excited.
Well, and I have to say that I'm finding in Katira a really, really tremendous leader. I really like her leadership style.
I'll have to tell her.
She'll hear this.
Yeah, she'll hear me. Like, good things are said about you. You have to listen to the whole thing. But going back, let's get into the belly dance career, because I don't know, you have so many other fascinating things. It's hard to pinpoint about what you're doing. But let's go back to the belly dance world, just for point of interest, I suppose. So you took that crash course with the teacher just to so that was your first belly dance performance. Was that theater performance?
Oh yeah.
Would you call it a belly dance performance, or would you call it something else?
I would call it a faux belly dance.
An interpretation. Yeah.
No, I mean, it was what you would expect an actor. You know, like, it was fine. You know, my mom made the costume. It was so cute.
That's cute. Do you still have it? Oh, that's perfect.
I do. It was so cute.
You're gonna have to find a way to reimagine it, just for old times' sake. Like, figure out a way to pull it back into the act.
And I had totally short hair. Not that that's a problem.
Like under your ears, short hair. Because I had that haircut once in my time.
Yeah, pixie short. I had my hair pixie short for like a decade.
Let's take a moment to talk about this, because I cut it once that short, and I was so devastated. Not with the cut here, but the grow out, when it gets to that kind of curling out phase. That's what devastated, because I look like a boy, and I couldn't help it. And it just, no matter what I did, if I straightened it, it just curled right out, and I looked like a Susie Q looking kind of deal. I don't know if you went through that.
It's just all kinds of grow out. Everybody, you know, it's like that. Oh gosh, yeah. And in fact, like, my initial motivation, or what caused me to get my hair kind of grown out, was relocating to Seattle, and I had for that grad school program, and I had this like fantastic hairdresser down in Portland, but it was just not very practical for me to try to get my hair cut in Portland. Yeah. And I got a few really hack jobs done here in Seattle, because I didn't really know who to go to, and you know.
So you just trying, like, I'll try it out.
I was like, I just need a haircut, you know. And then, so anyway, long story short, I was like, I am growing my hair out. I can't go through this, you know, like having really bad hair for months because the haircut is bad. So I grew it out. Yeah. Because of that, you know what I mean?
I'm growing mine out just because of fear. I just never wanted to go back to that again. I'm like, I can't. Even though I know I need shorter hair, I just can't do it because I'm just terrified. And so like I'm committed to my grow up for the rest of my life.
Totally. Short hair is really hard to maintain.
I can't do it. It's not for me. I only know like 3 belly dancers who are like, I love the short hair. I can totally do it. Everybody else is like, I did it once and it terrified me for the rest of my life. I can't do it again. But moving back, so you did your travels, you came back, and you started training with soccer for a while. Yeah. I gotta know, how did your first performance go? When was that? What did you do? There's always a story to the first performance.
There's a story. So, like, I'm in this grad program, and I'm studying with soccer, and, and they had this, like, fundraiser talent show for the school that I was going to. And of course, what do I offer to do?
Raise your hand up high. I can do that.
Everybody else is doing like quote unquote normal things, like comedy sketches and such. And what do I go and offer to do, right? So you could imagine like all of my colleagues were just like floored, like what?
Did you get the reaction of like, what have you done? When have you been doing this?
Who are you?
Yeah, what is this?
Like, who are you? And also just a little bit of discomfort too, among a few that you could see that they were like, ooh, whoa, too weird.
Yeah, this is a family show.
Right.
I know it's a family show.
To the credit though of my dean of the school, is that he was just gleaming the whole time, and he's a world traveler and very well cultured. I should say was. So he's now passed. Yeah. But he was just like gleaming the whole time, and
that's great. You had a supporter, so the one guy who makes the rules.
Yeah, totally
Perfect.
So I was like, yeah. Well,
I'm gonna do belly dance.
The people whose opinion really, really, would matter to me, really seemed to resonate. So, but anyway, I don't know. Just the whole thing was just hilarious. Performing for a bunch of academics and my own colleague academics.
That seems like such an awkward audience.
I had been, doing group work, doing stats and econ, for like a year and a half with these people. Never wearing makeup, looking mousy most of the time, spending until midnight in the computer lab, sweaty.
It was like a Cinderella moment for you.
Oh my God!
To the ball, yeah.
So they were just like, "Whoa, yeah."
What did you do? Did you perform? Like, did you have your own costume set up? Did you get your mom to make you another costume at the time? Did she?
I actually think I may have worn that costume
again. It had a revival.
I don't remember, but I think I actually wore that.
Well, I mean, you made it. I mean, might as well bring it out again. To be fair, most people don't know what the technical costume should be or shouldn't be, I suppose. So that's hilarious. Did it go well for you? Did they like it? Did they enjoy it? Or were they a little bit, that was nice, and then shook your hand and walked away?
Well, yeah, there were those few that was nice, and they were clearly not sure how to feel and not necessarily very comfortable, or at all comfortable, or just Pacific Northwest culture, is like the sort of, you can feel that there's a thickness in the air, but they're just quiet, you know, and there's just, you can feel there's stuff going on in their mind, but they're not saying it, kind of thing, you know. It was about, I would say, a good 50% of the response of the
good
audience.
Enough.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the other 50% were like, that was so cool, so, and like the dean of the school.
Well, of course, that's all you need is that guy that you respect so much who makes the decision to say, that was good. Yeah. That's great. So you had essentially a positive experience for your first performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did that performance really just light another? I mean, because it takes a big step to go from I'm learning a dance to I want to make this my career. Like this is my thing now.
And you want to know, I think I'm a little different on this one. I've
gotten that already.
I was a super, that's interesting. Yeah, good point. I was a really late bloomer in terms of belly dance becoming a performing art form for me. Mm. It was for, I would say, about 7 years a therapeutic art form for me.
Okay.
And then Sakura was wanting me to get out and perform more. And then she would do the monthly showcases. At that time, it was in a different location.
Right.
And I remember that going through several cycles of feeling like the cat being thrown in, a bucket of water, what just happened kind of thing, doing a performance and finishing it and just,
I had no idea. I know I went up there, I stopped breathing, and I left. That's all I remember. Yeah,
exactly. And I can't say that I necessarily liked it or disliked it. It was just so scary. And she was actually, it was working with her that I realized how late of a bloomer I was in terms of manifesting belly dance as performance compared to what a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And I remember even actually saying, I'm not sure if I really want to. I was really...
Interesting.
I had this, I was kind of blocked about it. I don't know what my thing was.
I was going to say, what was holding it back? Was it something else you were doing, your career outside of the dance world that was holding it back?
No.
Just not comfortable with it yet?
It was some sort of emotional, psychological block.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was. And I look back on that, and I look back on the way that I was responding to soccer, and I could see she was clearly confused.
What is wrong with you? Just get out there and shimmy or do something.
No, pretty much. That was her response, right?
That sounds exactly like
that. And I myself didn't know, and I still don't really.
Interesting.
But I look back on that kind of like, whoa, yeah, what was my deal? And also realizing just how much I have grown as a human being through developing as a performer. And so obviously I was afraid of that growth, I think,
We jumped around a bunch, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of emotions. I mean, not everybody has to jump out immediately. I think that's important for people to remember, is that you don't have to start now.
Yeah.
You can take your time for what feels comfortable and what's good for you on things.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually almost a better approach in a lot of ways, because you get a lot more experience and knowledge and time to digest. And interesting. All right.
Yeah, totally.
So you had that block and then you couldn't move forward, but I mean, it's clearly, again, something changed over time, or was it like an overnight, like, well, this is going to be my my bread and butter?
Well, I can get to that in just a moment.
Oh,
but actually, before I forget, there was something that, like a profound kernel of wisdom that Sakura said about all of that, which was, she said, there are two different tracks. You can be good and very well developed at dancing, and that is altogether a different track from being well developed at performing. And that just was so true about me, because I had actually, quite a bit of ability at that point. And then I was, very underdeveloped in performing and how to apply that ability,
It's two different, I mean, you have, the dance form and like the technique, and then you have the entertainment factor of it. And where does that meld into two things? It's hard. Because...
And I was, as a consequence too, or maybe it's just also me and my own personal energy, I was a hyper dancer. Many of my colleagues know that. Maybe they don't realize that I understood that, but...
Whoa, let's do things! Woohoo, I'm over here!
I'm so much less hyper. And
I would never describe you as a hyper dancer.
Because I'm not anymore. It's so great.
No, but I would never think of describing you.
I know, but it's just because it's like over years, I just kind of kept finding ways to breathe and, kind of quiet my mind a little bit so that I wasn't literally trying to do everything at the same time.
But they're bored. They must be bored. It's only been 3 seconds, but they must be bored.
Correct.
They're going to do something else.
Correct.
Or
I actually do have a lot going on in my mind at the same time. So that's just my, it's hard for me to... It's like I'll think of literally 3 things to say at the same time. Literally, like it's happening right now, and
I'm sure I could see it happening.
I have to just choose one and not try to say all 3. But then you asked another question that I now want to jump to.
Go for it. It's your podium.
Which was what again?
What was that change? Because again, you have that block.
Oh
yeah.
Best friend phone call.
Perfect. Okay.
Best friend phone call. Economy just completely sunk right as soon as I got my master's degree in 2002. And I spent a year like trying to find a job. I found temp jobs in my area, but I was just, patching it together,
Sure, it's hard.
And other things going on personally in my life. I was going through divorce, and so my best friend that I hadn't seen for years, but she was like from childhood. We'd hook up on the phone, once a year or so. She said, well, that belly dancing thing you're doing, why don't you do something with that? Here we go again. Somebody's asking me to perform, right? So I was like, well, like, what do you have in mind? Well, like, once in a while I see that there's like a dancer in a restaurant. Why don't you be one? So it's so funny.
Somebody else suggested that you yourself, who's been dancing for so long and doing all of this work and research, was like, that's a really good idea.
Exactly,
it never occurred to you.
It's exactly the point, right?
That's so funny. That's so endearing.
Isn't that just bizarre?
That's too good.
And I went about it in a reckless way that got me, with a little bit of disfavor because I didn't understand. Oh, there's schedulers, and you have to, there's, a little bit of, a system in place, and you have to get to know that scheduler and develop a relationship and let them know that you're interested, and there's politics. Mm-hmm. And me, the naive one that just jump in there and okay, hi,
I'm here, dancer. I want to work. Can you give me?
That's what I did.
I mean,
I actually, natural promoting person. I put together a little resume with, a few photos, and I printed it out on my printer, and I walked down,
just walking into restaurants, handing people.
I just
flyers.
have nothing but self-initiative,
I love that.
That's how I created these events too, So the question is then, learning how to be better at sustaining things, and that's something that I've had to learn. But yeah, so that's what I did, and I got myself, some work here and there, and eventually developed those relationships with other dancers, and, repaired a little bit too. And
I'm so sorry. I did not know what I was doing. It happens. And, it really does happen. You learn.
And it's just, then it just kept being, kind of one gig after another. At that time, there was actually quite a bit of restaurant work popping up. Mm-hmm. Compared to now, so there was so much more work to be had, and I was just fortunate that I was asking for that work at the right time when it was available.
Right.
So
just hit the right spot at the right time, and so you were doing restaurant gigs fairly regularly at that point.
A lot, yeah.
And so that was essentially paying the bills for a while. It sounds like. Let's be real. Belly dance does not pay much, but.
Well, but I keep my costs super low.
Yeah.
I mean, look what you're sitting on.
Yeah.
So.
It's how it works.
Yeah. So it's been about 50% of my income for a while now. Give or take, depends on the month. And now I do have a management job for a nonprofit arts organization. And so now it may be less than 50% because maybe the job is, bringing in a little bit more than what I was making before.
That happens. Those mundane jobs that you have.
Yeah.
All right. So you're doing restaurant work. You were, really working on your dance skill on top of that, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You're a dancer at heart. Just from little girl, that was what your love was. You didn't know where, just something with dance. That's what I got to stick with. Again, that brings up another change. When did it start into teaching, and how did that world kind of start up? When did that change?
Well, you're going to crack up.
I'm going to crack. Okay, let me guess. You had no idea that was a good idea for you, and somebody else on random who has nothing to do with the scene was like, you should start teaching.
That's what happened.
Oh, God, you're so funny. You're so funny because, it's these ideas that seem natural to everybody else. You're like, that's a great idea. And then you do spectacularly at them.
Isn't that hilarious?
So who suggested it to you?
I was dancing in Costa's.
Okay.
Which was a restaurant in Fremont, right there on the corner, right before you cross the Fremont Bridge. It is now taken over by Chase Bank, and it was an establishment for, I think maybe 40 years.
It was there for a while.
Yeah. And I had finished a show, and one of the patrons in the restaurant came over to talk to me, and she said, hey, my colleague is opening up a yoga and Pilates studio, and we would like to offer belly dance, and I think that you would be really great to teach a class. I'm like,
that's a great
how
idea.
on earth does she know? You know what I mean? Like, it didn't start with, hey, do you teach? You know, are you qualified? Just, yeah.
Here, you can have a job.
And I have some teaching, you know, I had teaching background, you know, so I didn't come in totally like, how do you teach? You know,
right.
I had some knowledge, but to be sure, really not the level of knowledge that I, looking back, think I really should have had. Like many people, I actually did start teaching a little too early. A teacher training program would have done me good, you know. But I went through the teacher training program called School of Hard Knocks. You know, and being super self-critical and analytical, I figured out what was not working and what was working within very short order. So, you know,
with your brain firing so quickly.
Those first 3 months of students, I'm sorry. But after that, you know, then I became very methodical.
Sure.
And much more as time went on. Yeah.
So essentially a restaurant patron just said, hey, I have this opportunity for you. Would you be interested in doing it? And that started up your teaching career.
That was in 2004, yeah.
2004.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's an amazing opportunity that somebody just handed to you. I mean, clearly they thought you had the skill and, you know, they thought you had the personality to really teach, and clearly it worked out well.
I'm not sure what they were thinking, but yeah.
She was totally out of her mind, but I got the job. That's great, though. And then that started essentially a new area for you in your dance career. Now suddenly it wasn't just something that you did; it's something that you did with other people, something that you started a little community for.
Yeah.
Do you still have some of those students that started with you that far back, or
Gosh,
do you keep in contact?
Far back, I don't think I do. No. But yes, I did discover a passion for teaching, and as you just began to describe, of, you know, this sharing this dance,
Yeah, something else,
and empowering other women to discover it, and watching the light, you know, come on as they discovered that they can, and different things, and just there's just no
new stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, it's teaching is just such a joy, such a huge joy. It just gives back to you, and you just sort of feel buzzed all day long, kind of, you know.
I can see you especially enjoying teaching, especially with your travels that you've done too, and just sharing the wealth of knowledge, not just from what you learn from dance, but from other stuff. Because, I mean, everything you learn in dance, and other dances too, affects your dance here. And I think especially just your love of other dances, your love of ballet dance in specific, really just feeds through to your students, I would imagine.
Absolutely, and it gives me so much relative context. Also, I've been called by musicians a closet musician. So I'm like really heavily immersed in the music, and I understand music very well. I actually have played 2 instruments.
What 2 instruments do you play?
I played the French horn and the piano.
Okay, French horn not as attractive, right? But the piano still. That's great. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know how to read music and all of that. You know,
so you know way more than most. That's for sure.
Yeah. You know, I fully immersed myself in, you know, Middle Eastern music, and one, I would say, really key way that I learned it best was through editing it wrong.
Interesting.
So, like, you know, because I was working in restaurants a lot, it's like, you need to come in with your CD ready to go. You know, I was like, okay, Sakura, where's an audio editor? How do I use it? And she was just like, I don't know, go download something, figure it out. So I did.
Yeah.
And I've been, like, audio editing with SoundForge for however long it's been, you know. And I would first, you know, edit my music thinking, this is great. And then I would go and perform to it in the restaurant. It was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? You
like
know?
just really bad cuts?
Just bad cuts, yeah. But, you know, and I would get overly creative with it and stuff like that. I would just learn. So I learned phrasing. I learned how, you know, the music naturally wants to phrase itself. I learned how you can hear how it's bringing itself to an ending, bringing itself, as opposed to me cutting it and making it just, you know, really unnatural changes that I would do, you know. So I really learned a lot about the music.
That's wonderful.
And I love teaching, integrating kind of that knowledge of the music, and integrating the knowledge of, you know, for example, Amis, you know, samba, legs apart, samba, like together, Omi.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So knowing other dance styles kind of enables me to like use reference points depending on who I'm working with, to kind of get them there to the, doing it the way that, in the Oriental way,
The world of knowledge, so you can bring them together to the pinpoint that you want to bring them to. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So again, it moves on. Your career again takes another step up where you start doing producing and directing, which producing is my favorite thing by far, right?
Oh
yeah, no, I'm the kind of person who likes to tell people what to do. So producing is one of my favorite things to do. I like getting people together and I like putting them together, but that's a whole other story.
Oh, nice.
But for you started, a good amount of events. I mean, I know, especially the belly dance off being insanely successful. I mean, it was just down in Portland not too long ago, too. It's moving around. It's not just sticking here in Seattle.
Yeah.
How did that start? What was your idea for that? And how did that essentially become what it is now?
Belly dance off, the inspiration for it was several-fold. One is I was noticing that myself, and it appeared to be that others weren't getting like a lot of really candid, constructive feedback. Like, how do we know how we're doing here and how do we grow? What I was seeing though is a whole lot of like, love and appreciation, boundless love and appreciation at Hofla's, and like, oh my God, that was awesome, that was awesome, that was awesome. And I was like, that's great. I'm glad, to be a part of a really supportive community. That's nice, but I'm not really seeing a place for us like we have in other performing arts. Like you're a theater person, and when you workshop scenes or workshop, acting class, or just all kinds of different situations where it's like there's actually a system in place for constructive feedback.
Sure.
So that you can go home and work on it. Musicians similar, you know what I mean? So I was like, well, I'm not seeing a place where where we have an incubator to kind of make us grow here, other than just to kind of like go on your own and be self-critical. And and then there are merits to just asking a private instructor to do that for you too. So I understand that there is that place, but do we have kind of a central place where we can actually even be bold enough to receive and hear feedback in a room with other people?
That takes a lot of chutzpah. It takes a lot of guts to get up there and take feedback from people you may or may not know at all in front of a lot of people.
But if the spirit of it, as it is in other performing arts, is just because we all want to learn here, then I think it does make it something that people are more able to get into and receive and be excited about. So when I first introduced the format and the concept, obviously, people were just frightened.
What is this? Is it scary? I don't know what it is.
Most people,
different.
Enrollments were few and far. People signing up just because they were like, "Oh, hell no." You know what I mean?
I don't want unsolicited feedback instantly after I perform it, where I'm just you're sweating, right?
And so I had to really continue and get also people that were supporting the event to continue to kind of re-establish the concept and the mission of this and what it is, and it's community growth experience. The audience grows, we all learn. So that's one. And then another inspiration for the event, equally important to me, is I had been performing in restaurants for about a decade at that point, or maybe more, and I was running up against this kind of wall of like, the people I'm performing for don't actually really understand anything about what I'm doing.
Sure.
And I had, at that point, returned from my second trip to Egypt, studying there, intensively training. And so also, I kind of had that crash for the second time of coming back from Egypt where, it's obviously ingrained,
It's the real deal, yeah.
They know how to appreciate it. It's goes back hundreds of years. And to coming here and performing, right away is like literally the same week I flew in.
For the Pacific Northwest crowd of all people too, where they're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, and also performing a style that frankly isn't as popular received here, really, Egyptian style, and it became more Egyptian going to Egypt, you know what I mean? Now I've become, I guess, whatever, we can go into this whole conversation about what is Egyptian style.
Oh gosh, that's
you know what I mean? But so I've become more, my own style now since then. But at that time, fairly Egyptian, and really just having to encounter over and over again, several times a week, the blank faces and the people not understanding how to respond, and
no clapping, just
oh my god, it's miserable. I'll be honest, just seeing how audiences respond in Egypt, and there's just like, oh, I hate this, and so there was also this huge motivation of me of like, I have to figure out a way to educate our community, our audiences, the public. I gotta somehow create a system here to invite the public to understand, and I'm sure they want to, but I've got to create it in a way that's not like, okay, we're gonna sit you down, we're gonna have a lecture, and we're gonna teach you, because about culture. Here, learn about this culture. Well, they don't want to. Okay?
They don't want to do that at all.
Right?
No,
they don't want to. So I was like, I gotta create some kind of system, some kind of game that's gonna make them end up learning, and in spite of themselves, they're gonna learn something. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I did. Like Belly Dance Off is pretty much a game show. Not to diminish it, but so that there was a motivation of public and audience education, of expanding appreciation of what we do and understanding of it as a fine art form, and getting as many new people in there that didn't know anything about belly dance as possible, and getting them scoring. Of course, the whole thing is created, obviously, as now you can see, of like, you have to pay attention to the judge comments because you're going to have to score the dancer.
Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you might want to listen in.
Yeah.
And get some advice as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to take their, feedback into account, decide if you agree or you disagree. You're part of actually the making and the creating of this event. And, so you got to be there, be an active audience,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So those were like the key things. And then obviously it evolves, and then there's other things that you learn about what you're doing about, and that you realize why you're doing it later on, and I would say that without a huge amount of support from Delilah, Nafia, and I don't want to get myself into a bad position of like forgetting a name here and there, so I think I'll stop
bunches
there.
of people, yeah.
Really, no, because there are more than that
are
just incredibly important to making this event grow. Without them, it would not. It just would not. I couldn't carry it on my own, and I still can't, and I still go through cycles.
Big project.
I still go through cycles where I'm like sending out, the cry for help. To emails out to a few of those supportive, like, I'm breaking. I actually think I can't do this event anymore. And I actually did at one point. My life just got too hard personally,
sure.
And I did quit. And it was kind of sad. And then I blame it all on Indigo. Actually,
yeah.
She said, "Well, you need to really start that up again." And I was. She mentioned that at a particular point. Here we go again, right?
Somebody else, yeah.
Here we go again. The same way that I started teaching, the same way, because I was like going with my life, just kind of trying to, kind of get my stability back, basically, right. My apartment and, working on my daughter's situations and getting that kind of things sort of stable back in my life. And when I was in a place where I was reasonably stable again, Indigo comes along and was like, you need to do that again. And I thought, well, and then just that exact same week, I just like literally, somebody mentioned Club Hollywood Casino, and I went, So I went and I visited, and I went, oh my God. If there ever were like a more perfect place, because it's
perfect.
hard to find a venue for that event because it's a multi-dimensional. It's 3-dimensional in terms of the performance itself,
right.
And when you consider the audience, then it's 4-dimensional. But then, so placing a 3-dimensional show, you know what I mean?
It just doesn't happen.
You need like a movie, a game show set. right? Game show set. So, you know, the usual just like one stage and, you know, audience facing one way, you know, kind of proscenium theater, auditorium stuff. I was finding, I was discouraged before I even started to try to bring the event back, just in the searching for a venue, you know, let alone making the arrangements with the venue, you know, the deal, the business arrangement, etc. Club Hollywood it was just like it landed right in my hand that same week that Indigo mentioned it, and they were like, "Yep, we'd love to have it." So I was like, "Well, I guess I have to do it now."
Well, now I have. That's so funny because you're the type of person. It just doesn't take much to get you started on something. Like somebody just needs to give you just the tiniest spark, and then you've created all of it. I love that. Absolutely love that. So it's Indigo. I love her. She's actually doing a workshop for me in September for one of my benefit show things. But
oh, she's just amazing.
She's sweetie. She's a big sweetie.
She's just amazing, artistically and otherwise.
Oh yeah. She's doing a grounded cabaret workshop for me. I'm just like, yes, thank you. Thanks for coming down. So
yeah.
But so that started it. So just I'm gonna assume that most of your big endeavors are from these little sparks that came from other people that really just changed your life from where it was going.
Yeah.
To something completely different.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of this, like, I trust the signs in the universe kind of people.
Yeah.
So I kind of try to keep my awareness, like, really, really open, and I strongly believe that signs come through other people, through suggestions of other people. And so I just kind of try to listen. Now, it's not that I just go jumping in any direction.
Oh no.
You know, it has to fit. You know what I mean? but the thing is, most of the time it does fit, and the suggestion happens exactly when I am ready to move toward that.
It just seems to fit in right in the perfect time.
Synergy.
I love that.
You know
I love that.
It's just synergy.
Thank you, universe, for this gift that you've just given me. This tiny little bit.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's the big thing? I mean, right now you're working with Forge and doing all that stuff, which is a whole nother chunk. But
yeah.
What's the next big thing that you're either creating or thinking up, or what do you want to do, or is there any dream that you have coming up of what might be next in your dance world, or are you content where you are, which is absolutely fine as well?
Well, Forge is kind of that thing that's like gonna take me to places I'm not even sure of yet, which is exciting. Yeah. And we'll figure out, you know, what I do with it, you know, as time goes on. I did also create a live music Egyptian dance theater production, Cinderella, an Egyptian Story. So that was.
Thank you for reminding me.
That was sort of a mammoth project.
It was ginormous.
Oh my god! But,
I looked at that and went, I don't want to do that. Like instantly, I was like, I would never want to direct that. It seems like a big undertaking.
It was, and I'm frankly, I was kind of supposed to do it again this year, and I was like, I can't take that on right now.
I've got a lot going on.
Trying to balance my life, but that is sort of the hanging. It's hanging there of like, okay, what am I going to do with that project? I don't intend to just let it wither away. So, you know, should I just repeat it as is, or more likely build upon it, or, you know, change it all together, go do Arabian Nights instead? I don't know.
Oh.
You know, oh gosh, I'm totally
I know the ideas
with that one. I just kind of I've read the whole play recently because I'm training the teens of Seattle Public Theater.
Oh, okay.
Choreography for that. So I've read the play and it's like, I should have read this a long time ago.
Why am I doing that? Again, the universe going, hey, this is something interesting.
Play. And so, you know, reading that too has kind of given me perspective about, because I wrote Cinderella, an Egyptian Story. While it is not scripted, you know, the story is told through narration and dance. But, you know, it's the much more advanced script of Arabian Nights by far has made me kind of reflect and go, well, okay, so I could, I'd like to do something way more cool,
meatier,
like,
yeah.
You know.
Well, let's before we go to the big question that I wanted to get to, because I completely forgot about that, and now I'm like kicking myself. But, because I was like, this is the coolest idea that I have never thought of, and I would never want to take it on. But I mean, you started the Cinderella stuff and started doing that. I mean, getting those people together, was it just something that you auditioned people for, or something that you just got an idea and just kind of went with it and let people do their own little bits? I mean, for people who haven't seen it, which you should have seen it.
Yeah, I did hold like a public audition for certain key roles, like those 3 sassy maids.
Yes.
For example. And then there were other roles that I had already pre-cast. It would have been too overwhelming for me to just like open cast the whole thing for the first time around. Now if I go and repeat it again, I might be in a position where I'm capable of maybe doing more of an open casting. But so House of Tarab was really the right band for that project, so I didn't have to cast that. That was a given.
Yeah.
Sound-wise, for the sort of, theater in the park, acoustic kind of experience thing, but also they had a CD out. So they had music that was already recorded that I could then hand over to dancers and say, okay, choreograph, choose this song, we negotiate and agree upon the song, choreograph to this song, and then I have now, as the director, I'm going to plug in that choreography and that song into this scene.
Oh, okay.
So it reduces the chaos.
By a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then you can get people working separately. And so that, it was like, I have worked with Nalini on other projects, so I had, a good relationship with her and understanding of how she works and appreciation of her work and her Blue Lotus Dance Company. And so I invited her into the project. She seemed a little like, I don't know at first.
What is this? She cracks. She's too funny.
So, and musically it was really different from what she was used to doing.
Sure.
So I, said, well, choose these recordings. If you don't want to do it, that's okay. Well, I can see if somebody else would like to do it. But so the big challenge, though, is creating group choreography to live music.
That is quite the feat.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, when you think about it, you're like, oh my God, what? Are you crazy? In belly dance,
You don't do that.
We don't, right? But it's like, if you actually think about it in a broad sense, you're like, wait, they do that all the time in the ballet and the opera. That's like, and musicals, live musicals. There's a band down in there in that pit.
Yeah.
And some director like cues everything with the band down in there at pit. Like when somebody drops their shoe, there's a smack down there, and it's brilliant, right?
Right.
Why not us?
Why not us?
The
big one. Exactly. I've never thought, it's so dumb that I've never thought of it that way. But when I did Fiddler on the Roof, we had a live band, and they did their whole bit on exactly the same timing as we did.
Yeah.
Why not belly dance?
Why not?
Why not?
And I'm really a strong proponent, as many know, of live music. Sure. And I enjoy so much more watching a performance when it has just more things involved.
Yeah.
So like when I watch, and I don't want to come off sounding critical here, but when I watch a belly dance show, or any dance show actually, really, that's on a stage to recorded music, it's like there'll be levels of like, wow, but overall I feel like my ability to just be wowed is so much more limited because of it just has 2 dimensions. It has a stage and a dancer, and oftentimes not even a set. It's a black backdrop, and hopefully there's lighting.
Cross your fingers, there's lighting.
You know what I mean? But when you add dimension, like live music, or other things, story, theater, you know what I mean? Suddenly it's just like, oh, It's
something gooier and tastier.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
So live music is a way to do that, and it happens all the time in other art forms.
Take your time, but I'm very excited to see what else you're going to come up with. And you got that in the belly dance off in weekly classes, and you're doing your fitness belly dance as well. Mm-hmm. You're doing that as well on top of stuff.
Really, that's synonymous with the weekly classes at this point.
Sure.
I've had to dial it way down with the teaching thing.
Got a lot going on.
In order to do these other things, and that was like a really like intentional decision I had to make of like, because for a while I had Tuasa World Dance Ensemble, and students that had advanced to a point where we could create an ensemble, and I just that kind of, people flew away, went to Argentina, and so it kind of like withered. It went through kind of that stage where, and it was actually like so many other things, perfect timing for me, because it was like, I actually can't fit this anymore in my life, and need to make room for other things, and then have since then not attempted at all to really get the teaching activity, get advanced classes going, and students that I can shape into an ensemble again, and all of that. This is just something that needs to just be dormant right now,
and that's okay.
So I teach once a week, and I teach my core belly dance workout on Wednesdays, and we have a great time, and
love it.
We all show up, and it's a no stress thing.
Easy going. Don't worry about technique. It's all good.
Well, you do worry about it's super technique.
Good,
yeah,
good,
it's
good.
Super like kind of boot camp.
Okay, good. Oh, okay.
Like,
okay, good.
yeah, it's like use your muscles, girls.
I was just screaming at him the whole time.
Yeah, well, I try to say it with a smile, but yeah, no, it's the idea is that you walk out sweaty, and that you feel like you've worked your muscles.
Good.
Yeah, and just creating that muscle memory with technique, so that when you go out and perform, if that's what you choose to do with it, that it all just flows much more naturally. And it, something I've noticed that's been like always a challenge, dancing wise, is like sometimes you can do a movement all day long, and then what tightens up when you're out there performing is your body.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times there's this like, you may do it great in front of your cat in your living room.
Sure.
But then something happens when you get out there. And so I really worked hard in myself and with the dancers and students that I work with, of like creating muscle memory while you're doing the movement, of exactly what do you feel in your body when you're doing it right, and pinpointing like all these little cues. Do you feel a certain like pull through your hip flexor, your glutes, your abductor, is there, what is exactly the feeling you have when you're doing that movement exactly right, optimally,
Awesome.
And then reproduce that exact thing.
Awesome.
Take a deep breath, bend your knees, pull in, pull from the earth, relax, and then feel, replicate those exact, you know what I mean?
Developing that muscle memory for people who necessarily aren't even going into the dance career as much. They're just working. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's much better. That's a totally different outlook on most of the belly dance workout options that are out there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So going back to the big final question.
Uh-oh.
The big final question is, again, what are you up to? What's the next thing? What's the next thing for you? Because, say what you will. Some people are like, I'm not up to anything right now. Somebody has one.
That's kind of what I have to say, to be honest.
Yeah, really?
Other than what I've mentioned with, like, we'll see what goes on the journey with Forge, and what exciting things that will create for me. My mind's a blank. I know what's going to happen. You're going to walk away, and I'm going to be like, oh my God!
That one thing I've been working on!
Of course, what am I...
Or no, even better, someone's going to call you up and say, hey, have you thought about doing this? And then you're going to start a whole new deal.
Right. I would like more time to do more writing.
Okay.
That's been kind of a struggle, is like, I busy myself like crazy, and I don't, I'd like to do more blogging. I'd like to get so much of this journey that I've had down, on the page or on the screen, wherever you read it. And I just feel like I just have like just vaults and vaults of stuff that needs to be written that I'm way behind.
I feel like I could do like 20 podcasts with you. That's the funny thing.
Yeah. So I'd like more time to write. It sounds really like, not very sexy, or
No. That's good.
No,
That's what
I'm going to go to Turkey, and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. But actually, and then the other thing that what's next thing is like, I'm almost afraid to say it because it's just so big for me.
Oh, that is exciting. Oops, goodness, that is exciting.
I see myself at some point in the future near or a little less near of running my own Mediterranean jazz club, like a small, like maybe between 75 and 100 seat kind of establishment.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's, again, completely different.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I know so very well what it means to own a business and what that takes, and it would be a complete surrendering of so much that I'm already doing in my life.
Sure.
And frankly, surrendering a great amount of the dancing that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. It would be all I can do to just stay in shape while running, a business.
Especially.
I mean? So I, it's all, it's a really good thing that I don't have the money to do that right now.
Because
I'm psychologically not quite ready yet.
Again, the world will show you when you're ready to do that.
Yeah,
I think personally, but
yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Again, a huge journey from ballet classes when you were a young girl to what you're doing now, and so many amazing experiences. We barely touched on anything. I really like that you're one of your goals is writing more. I like talking, if you didn't guess. I like listening, and that's my goal with this podcast, really, is to just gain and then retain conversations with as many people as possible who've maybe never had the opportunity to say, here's my story. Here's how I got here. No one's ever asked, but I want to say how I got here. And so that's at least why I'm doing this, which is a little bit back to the podcast. But
oh my gosh, actually it's not back. It's you've so articulated exactly what I'm feeling right now. Mm-hmm. And I just how do I thank you for pulling all of this story out of me and asking and caring and just wow.
You're an interesting storyteller. I want to talk to you more. We'll have to have you come back and find out what you're up to next. That's my goal. I just want to have people back to find out what else they're up to. But yeah, to finish it off, one thing I ask everybody is, what's the one thing that you wish you were told at that pinpoint moment? I know. I'm one of those people. I like the drama of it all. But what's one of those things that you wish you were told, or something that you would have liked to hear at one point in your dance career that really would have changed something, or maybe lifted you out of that moment, or maybe something you did already hear that really influenced you?
I'd say that I think as performers we go through varying stages of insecurely wanting to get confirmation about our dance from the people that watched us. And while that is, of course, why shouldn't we want that? What I've had to learn myself is that when you get to the point where you realize you loved that performance that you just did, and it felt incredible for you, and moreover, if you're seeing, video documentation of your performance and you're like, that's cool, I like what I'm seeing with what I'm doing. There's mistakes, but I'm working on it, and I like it. Even if that dance that you're doing or that style that you're doing is not, the trending style, if you like it, mm-hmm. that's where I feel like that's where you need to live. Yeah. That's where you need to be. Because people's, appreciation of what you're doing is just going to kind of come in and out. And many of the most genius artists spent a good portion of their life being doubted and criticized. Eventually, oftentimes, it's after they die that we're like, oh my God, look how
great, thanks.
We celebrate them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when we look at kind of the lives of many people that were that we admire, a lot of times we read their story and they went through so much of a good portion of years of being criticized and downcast, and then they would travel here and travel there and figure this out, and then eventually, they found it, you know what I mean? So I would say just loving your dance and not necessarily relying on the love of the people that are watching.
Anyway, thank you for spending so much time and just letting me just kind of delve into where you came from and what you're doing and what you're planning on next. And this will be out Tuesday, the something. Do you have anything that you're looking to promote, tell people about, interesting stuff?
Well, now would be a good time to get your tickets to round 3 of Belly Dance Off 2014, which takes place on Saturday, September 20th. And there are actually just 2 more spots left in that Rising Star category for that round 3. And this will be the last round that dancers can enroll in for 2014. There's also still opportunity to get in the program. So if you have a service or a small business, we have an excellent and very much growing audience. The last round was like overfull. The people was, standing room only. So it's turning into a really good market to get your, ad in front of. And we have other, sponsorship opportunities as well, like logo and link on the website. Actually, I don't have a logo option yet, but you can get a link on the website and blah, blah, blah. So, if you have something that you're doing that you like promoted, please do look into that. And I guess, I don't know if I need to say what my website URL is.
Yes, please do. If somebody wanted to try to get in contact with you, find out about your classes that you're doing right now, your class on Wednesdays, how to get more information about the events you're doing, how to book you for anything, where would they go?
www.planetsuzanna.com. Well, the trick is, how do I spell Suzanna? Suzanna.
I thought that was the only way to spell it. I've never seen it spelled any other way. So I'm not sure.
It's my real name. It's my birth name.
Yeah.
Just sort of FYI, I don't care if you call me Suzanna or Susanna. It absolutely does not matter to me. I just don't like being called Suzanne.
Ooh, yeah.
Susanna's a great name, but it's just one of those things like, well,
but
that's not my name, though. You know what I mean?
I totally get that. I'll story for you later. I'm one of the, don't call me that. That's not my name. That's not my name. That's somebody else's. That's not mine.
Yeah. So
planetsuzanna.com.
Planetsuzanna.com.
And check out the Belly Dance Off. It's, again, the 20th.
Yeah, September 20th.
September 20th. Thank you.
Yep. And then, keep checking after that because the Grand Championship is coming up on Saturday, November 1st.
Yep. In
which the winners of each of the 3 rounds will then be competing for a final dance-off.
Wonderful. Oh, that's so exciting. Too much stuff going on. So, again, check out there. And otherwise, we'll hopefully be talking to you again soon.
Thank you.
Awesome. Wonderful. Bye-bye. Want to listen to more Sauce Pod? Go to facebook.com/shutupandshimmy podcast for more interviews with your favorite dancers.